I don't know how to explain what I saw that night without sounding like I'm lying, but I remember it too clearly to forget. It started on a road I was never supposed to take, a narrow stretch of cracked asphalt cutting through endless pine forest. My headlights barely touched the trees. Everything beyond the beams felt swallowed, like the dark itself was alive and leaning closer. The radio stopped working miles back. Even my phone lost signal, just a small glowing screen with no world behind it. That's when I noticed her. At first, I thought it was a trick of light, maybe branches shifting, maybe fog gathering in the wrong shape. But then she moved, not toward the road, just slightly closer to the edge of the trees, like she had been standing there the entire time, waiting for me to look. I slowed the car, and that's when I saw her face properly. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She was just watching. Her eyes didn't reflect my headlights the way they should have. And when I finally stopped the car completely, the forest went so quiet it felt like even the wind had forgotten how to breathe. Then she tilted her head, just a small movement, like she recognized me. That's when I saw it. There were more of them in the trees. It was late when I drove onto the forest road. No streetlights, only the pale glow of my headlights cutting through thin mist and black branches. The air already felt wrong, like it had been waiting. That's when I saw her, a girl standing at the edge of the trees, completely still, not like someone waiting, more like something placed there. I remember blinking. When my eyes opened again, she was closer, not walking, not running, just closer. The road should have gone straight, but it didn't. It looped back. Same cracked asphalt, same leaning trees, even the same broken street sign, weathered unreadable, like it had been erased too many times. The radio cracked to life, static, then something almost like voices under it, whispers folding into each other. I turned the dial. Nothing changed. Only her, always her, farther ahead now, never behind. The forest grew quieter with every mile, not peaceful quiet, listening quiet, like even the trees were holding their breath. I started noticing marks on them, carvings, symbols that looked almost like eyes, and sometimes they looked back. When I wasn't directly staring, the forest shifted, subtle at first, then undeniable, branches changing position between blinks, shadows no longer matching the trees that cast them. Footsteps began to follow mine, but I was alone. I checked the mirrors, and for half a second, she was inside the reflection, sitting in the back seat. When I turned, nothing, no one remembered her. When I tried to say anything out loud, even my own voice felt unsure. The moment I spoke about her, the radio hissed louder, almost like it didn't want the name to exist. Time slipped. The dashboard clock jumped forward an hour, without warning. No warning, no blur, just missing time. And after it happened, she was closer again. I started doubting myself. Not the road, not the forest, me. Then I saw them, between the trees, human shapes, standing perfectly still, not reacting, not breathing wrong, just watching from places I couldn't focus on for too long. If I looked directly at them, they stopped existing. If I looked away, they moved, always repositioning, like they were learning me, and she stood among them sometimes, or near them, or maybe she was the reason they stayed still. The fog came fast after that, thick, heavy, warm against the glass. It pressed against the windshield like a face trying to form, and it said my name, not loudly, not clearly, but close enough that I stopped breathing for a moment. The road stopped feeling like a road. GPS directions changed while I was watching them, routes rewriting themselves in real time. Every turn led back into deeper forest. No exit stayed real for long. The sky never brightened again after that. It stayed trapped in a dim, endless dusk. And still, she waited ahead, always waiting, never rushing me. Almost like patience was a point. Then the car started to change. The engine didn't respond the way it should. Brakes delayed. Steering felt slightly wrong, like something else was holding it, like I wasn't the only one driving anymore. The forest reacted to me. Wrong choices weren't ignored. They were corrected, paths closing behind me like wounds sealing shut. And then the radio came back again. But this time it was worse. It wasn't random voices. It was descriptions of what I was doing, what I would do next. Sometimes it even sounded like me speaking. I tried to escape it. I saw a break in the trees once. A real road. Highway lights in the distance. Hope hit fast. Too fast. And there she was, standing right in the center of it, waiting. The moment I reached her, everything reset. Same forest. Same road. Same silence. Again and again, another driver appeared once. Just for a moment. Same car. Same headlights. Same hesitation. He looked like me. Then he was gone. She noticed both of us like it didn't matter which one stayed. The forest started speaking clearly after that. Not whispers anymore. Sentences. Layered voices. Like the trees were thinking together. It described everything I would do before I did it. And she stopped being just something I saw. She became part of it. An interpreter. A bridge between whatever this place is and me. Then I learned the truth. This wasn't a forest. It was a system. A containment that had been running far longer than I could understand. And I was never lost. I was expected. The trees weren't growing. They were remembering. And then I understood the worst part. She wasn't alone. She never had been. Because when I finally stopped the car, I saw her multiply. Not fast. Not sudden. Just more of her. Standing between the trees. Standing in reflections. Standing behind the glass. Everywhere I looked. The car wouldn't move anymore. The engine stopped trying. Even time felt like it had settled. And the forest felt complete. Like it had finished learning me. The last thing I remember is realizing I'm no longer inside it. I am part of it. And something is still watching. The forest road should have ended. I kept telling myself that as I drove. Straight lines are supposed to end somewhere. At towns. At exits. At something familiar. But this road didn't believe in ending. It bent back into itself. Same cracked asphalt. Same leaning trees. Same broken sign with letters too faded to read properly. I passed it twice. Then 3 times. Each time felt slightly colder inside the car. The radio clicked on again. Static first. Then something under it. Not words exactly. More like breath trying to become speech. I turned it off. It stayed on. And ahead she appeared again. The girl, farther this time. Standing where the road should have continued. Still, watching. I blinked. She was closer. Not running. Not walking. Just repositioned. Like the road itself had decided she should be nearer. My hands tightened on the wheel. I checked the mirrors. Only forest behind me. But it didn't feel like I was going forward anymore. It felt like I was being moved. The street signs changed after that. At first I thought I was just tired. But the names weren't random. They felt wrong in a specific way. Like language remembering something it shouldn't. The radio whispered again. This time clearer. Almost like a voice buried inside the static. I stopped trying to understand it. Because understanding felt like answering. And she was still there. Always ahead. Never gone. Just adjusting distance. The forest around me began to feel narrower. Not physically. But like it was closing attention. Watching more closely. Listening harder. I stopped trusting the road. And slowly, I stopped trusting that I was the one driving on it. The trees started changing after a while. At first, I thought it was light playing tricks. Shadows stretching wrong. Bark patterns shifting when I wasn't looking. But then I stopped the car. Stepped out. The air felt heavier outside. Like it had density. Like it could press against skin. That's when I saw the marks. Carvings in the bark. Not natural. Not random. Eyes. Dozens of them. Some wide open. Some half-formed. All of them pointed in different directions. Yet somehow all toward me. When I looked directly at one tree, nothing moved. But when I blinked, the pattern changed. Not all at once. Just enough to notice I shouldn't have noticed. I got back into the car, but the feeling stayed. Something behind me, beside me, above me. The forest didn't feel empty anymore. It felt occupied, like I had entered a place already full. Footsteps began to appear. Not outside the car. not inside it either. Just present, echoing where no movement existed. I checked the mirrors again. Nothing. Still nothing. But the silence outside felt wrong. Too intentional. And then I saw them, between the trees, standing figures. Human-shaped, but not behaving like humans should. Perfect stillness when observed. And movement the moment I stopped looking. I tried not to look away, but that was worse, because she was among them, not separate, not leading, just part of the arrangement, like the forest had decided what she was, and I was only allowed to see it in pieces. The air inside the car felt thinner after that, like breathing was being measured, like something was counting it. I tried saying her name, at least what I thought her name might be. The moment I spoke it, the radio cracked louder, a sharp burst of static, then silence, the kind that feels like punishment. I tried again. Nothing came out right. The words slipped away before I could hold them, like the forest didn't approve of language being used that way. And then she appeared, not outside, inside the reflection of the windshield, sitting where no seat existed, just for a second, then gone. I stopped the car immediately, turned around, empty back seat, but the feeling of her stayed behind my eyes, like she had been closer than sight allows. I tried recording my voice. I don't know why. It felt important at the time. But when I played it back, there was nothing, only silence, and faint static underneath it, as if the recording itself refused to acknowledge what I said. The forest reacted after that. Not loudly, not violently, just heavier. Every mile felt more weighted than the last, like the road was no longer distance, but memory being stretched thin. I stopped mentioning her after that, not because I forgot, but because the world seemed calmer when I didn't. And that scared me more than anything, because silence felt like agreement. The clock changed without warning. One moment it was steady, the next it wasn't. An hour gone, no memory of it leaving, no sense of transition, just absence, like a page removed from reality. I checked everything. Fuel, distance, road markers. Nothing matched the time I had left behind. And she was closer again. Of course she was. I started questioning my memory after that. Not just what I saw, but what I believed I saw. The forest didn't help. It felt less like surroundings now, and more like pressure, constant, quiet, observing. The shadows began behaving strangely, deeper than they should have been. Even in weak light, they stretched too far, too long, like they were trying to reach something I couldn't see. I stopped checking the mirrors as often, because every time I did, I felt like something was checking me back. The missing hour never returned. It stayed gone, like it had never agreed to exist in the first place. And I kept driving, even though part of me wasn't sure anymore if I was still moving forward or just being kept here. The deeper I drove, the more the forest stopped feeling empty. It was never just trees anymore. There were shapes between them, human-like, still, waiting in positions that didn't make sense for bodies. Whenever I looked directly, they froze completely, like the act of being seen erased their movement. But the moment my eyes shifted away, I could feel them rearrange. Not quickly, patiently, like they had done it before, like they knew I would look away eventually. And she was there again, among them, not leading them, not separate from them, just accepted by them. That realization made my hands go cold on the steering wheel, because it meant the forest wasn't hiding anything. It was arranging everything, including her, including me. The road signs changed when I stopped trusting them. At first it was subtle, letters shifting slightly when I blinked, then whole words replaced with unfamiliar symbols. The GPS started speaking in fragments, not directions, suggestions, warnings. Sometimes even my own thoughts echoed back at me through it. And in the reflection of the screen, she appeared, watching, not moving, just present where she shouldn't be. I turned the GPS off, but the voice didn't leave. It just stopped needing a device. The road ahead felt less like distance now, more like instruction, like something was guiding where I could go without ever touching the wheel. The fog arrived without warning, thick, fast, heavy. It didn't roll in like weather. It arrived like awareness. The headlights barely held it back, and then it formed shapes, faces, not clear enough to recognize, but too human to ignore. They moved with the car, not around it, with it, and then I heard it, my name, soft, not spoken loudly, just placed inside the fog, like it had always been there waiting to be heard. I gripped the wheel tighter, because the strange part wasn't that it knew my name. It was how familiar it felt saying it, like the forest had used it before I ever existed. I kept looking for an exit. Every turn promised one. Every sign implied escape. But every road led back inside. Not physically looping. Something worse. Meaning looping. The same feeling. The same silence. The same trees pretending they were new. Daylight never came again. The sky stayed locked in a dim, permanent dusk. Like time had stopped bothering to change. And she was always there. At every intersection. Never blocking the road. Just waiting at the exact place I needed to go through. Like leaving wasn't something the forest allowed. Only something it observed attempts at. The mirrors started lying. Not all at once. Slowly. Rear view first. Then side mirrors. Then anything reflective. They began showing more than what was there. Extra figures. Extra movement. Sometimes me, sitting where I wasn't. And always her. Behind me, closer in reflections than in reality. One night I stopped the car and stared into the rearview mirror. The road behind me wasn't there. Just darkness. Like the car had forgotten where it came from. When I turned around, the road was still there. But I didn't trust that anymore. Because reflections had started feeling more honest than sight. And that was the first time I truly understood something was wrong with the space I was inside. Not just the place I was driving through. It happened between blinks. One moment the passenger seat was empty. The next it wasn't. Not filled in a normal way. More like something had agreed to occupy space without announcing itself. No sound. No movement. Just pressure. Like the air had become heavier on that side of the car. The seatbelt clicked on by itself. Slow. Certain. Final. I didn't touch it. I remember not breathing for a few seconds, waiting for something to react. Nothing did. Outside, the forest kept passing like nothing had changed. But inside the car, I wasn't alone anymore, and I could feel her presence outside the windows, watching, almost approving, like this was expected, like the silence beside me was part of the pattern she had been guiding all along. I kept my eyes forward, because looking beside me felt like acknowledging something I couldn't take back. And still, I stopped feeling alone after that, which somehow made it worse. I noticed that because the forest stopped moving normally, everything became too still. Even the leaves seemed suspended in thought. Then I saw the tree. It didn't look different at first, just larger, older, but then I realized it was moving, not swaying, breathing. The bark expanded slowly, then settled back in, like lungs hidden under wood. I stopped the car without thinking, stepped out. The air near it felt warmer, denser, and wrong in a way I couldn't explain without sounding insane to myself. Faces formed briefly in the bark, not carved, not permanent, just emerging and fading like memories trying to surface. And beneath it, she stood, looking up, not afraid, not surprised, like she had been there longer than the tree itself. The forest around us felt suddenly aware of its own existence, like everything was watching everything else, just to confirm it was still real. The sound disappeared first, not gradually, all at once. Engine noise, wind, even my own breathing against the glass. Gone. The world became visually normal, but acoustically erased. I pressed my hand against the horn. Nothing. No reaction from reality. Just silence that felt thick enough to lean on. And then I noticed her again. She wasn't closer. She wasn't farther. She was simply consistent, like distance no longer applied. I tried speaking. My lips moved, but no sound returned to me. Instead, the forest responded. Branches shifted slightly before I moved. Road texture adjusted before the wheels touched it, like everything was delayed, but already aware of what I intended. Even she moved that way, as if the forest knew her decisions before she made them. Silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt shared. The radio returned violently, not as noise, as fragments, voices layered over each other, overlapping like broken memory. Some were distant conversations, some were instructions, some sounded like me speaking from somewhere I wasn't. I froze when I recognized that part, because I wasn't saying those things in the car. At least, I didn't remember saying them. And then static sharpened into clarity for a moment. Her presence flickered through the transmission, not physically, but like she existed inside the signal itself, watching through interference. I turned the volume down. It got louder. I turned it off. It stayed on. The forest outside felt closer after that. Not physically, conceptually, like distance was no longer a reliable idea. The road changed texture first. Small cracks forming where there shouldn't be any stress. Then larger ones. Then roots pushing through like veins remembering where to rise. The asphalt didn't break. It surrendered. I watched as the road beneath me began to sink, not collapse, be absorbed, like the forest had decided it was time to reclaim what it had been pretending wasn't part of it. The trees leaned closer, not moving their trunks, just appearing closer between frames of perception, and she walked easily across it all. Where the ground failed, she didn't. Where the road disappeared, she remained steady, like stability followed her instead of geography. My car tilted slightly as the surface changed. Control felt thinner now, like I wasn't driving on a road anymore, but on something that was slowly deciding what a road used to be. And somewhere deep in the forest, something was learning how I reacted to losing it. Something inside me started fading before I noticed it was happening. Not memories all at once, just pieces. Why I chose this road, where I was going, what before even looked like. I tried to hold on to details, but they slipped away like water through fingers. The forest didn't seem to care. It continued existing with perfect confidence, as if forgetting was part of the design. Inside the car, familiar things began to feel unfamiliar. My phone showed photos I didn't remember taking. The images were of this road, this forest, even her, but I couldn't remember when or why. And the worst part, I started recognizing her less. Not because she changed, because I did. She looked the same every time. But my ability to understand what same meant was breaking. It felt like identity itself was becoming optional. The trees were no longer just textured. They were aware. At first, I thought it was light again. Another trick. But then I saw them blink. Eyes embedded in bark. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Not all at once. Never all at once. They took turns watching. My movement didn't feel private anymore. Every step, every breath inside the car was tracked. Even when I wasn't looking at them, I could feel their attention shifting. Like the forest didn't just contain me. It was studying me. She stood among them without hesitation, like she belonged to their system of watching. And somehow, that made her feel less like a person and more like an instruction the forest was following. Something changed in her behavior, or maybe in my perception of it. She stopped approaching, stopped repositioning closer. She simply waited, always at the same distance now, always visible, never invading space. And that consistency felt worse than movement ever did, because it meant patience, and patience meant intention. I started noticing myself adjusting instead, my driving subtly shifting toward her, without deciding, without realizing, like gravity had changed direction, and I was only now noticing its pull. She wasn't chasing me anymore, and I think that was the moment I started going to her instead. The car stopped behaving like mine. The ignition still worked, but the response wasn't immediate anymore. Sometimes the engine would start before I turned the key. Sometimes it wouldn't respond at all. The brakes became unreliable, not failing, just delayed, as if something was deciding timing for me. The steering wheel felt slightly off-center, like it had learned to prefer direction. Outside, the forest didn't react to my confusion. It reacted to my movement, as if my decisions were already known before I made them. And she appeared more often now when I lost control, not interfering, just present, observing the lack of resistance. It started small. A wrong turn corrected itself. A blocked path opening again only when I reconsidered. At first, I thought it was coincidence, then pattern, then intent. The forest was responding to me, not randomly, not passively. It was learning. Every mistake I made was met with adjustment. Every hesitation was answered. Every attempt to escape was understood and redirected. The trees didn't just move. They adapted. And she felt like part of that adaptation process, not controlling it, but confirming it, as if she was watching to see whether I had learned anything yet. And slowly, I realized the most disturbing part. The forest wasn't trapping me anymore. It was teaching me how not to leave. I saw it before I believed it. A stretch of highway. Real. Bright enough to feel wrong in this place. The trees opened slightly, just enough to show distance again. No looping. No returning. Just forward. My chest tightened with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. It came too fast. Too sharp. I accelerated without thinking. The road felt normal for the first time in what felt like forever. No resistance. No correction. Just forward motion. And then I saw her, standing directly in the path of the exit, not blocking it aggressively, just present, like she had always been there waiting for this exact moment. I tried to slow down. The brakes responded late. Too late. When I reached her, everything reset. Same road, same forest, same dim sky that never changed anymore. Hope didn't disappear. It just stopped meaning anything after that. I noticed the other car in my side mirror first. Same make, same color, same headlights. It drove parallel to me for a few seconds, close enough that I could see inside. The driver looked like me, not similar, identical, same posture, same hesitation, same confusion reflected back at me. I blinked, and the car was gone. No passing, no fading, just absence, like it had been erased mid-motion. But she looked toward where it had been, acknowledging it, as if more than one version of me wasn't surprising, as if it was expected. That was the moment reality stopped feeling singular, like I wasn't the only one experiencing this road anymore, just one of several attempts. The forest stopped whispering after that. It started speaking clearly, not through devices, not through static. Directly, layered voices formed in the air around the car, each sentence overlapping slightly out of sync. It didn't describe what was happening. It described what would happen next. Before I did anything, already knew. Before I thought anything, it already answered. And for the first time, she wasn't just part of the landscape. She was part of the translation, as if she existed to turn the forest's awareness into something I could barely understand. I stopped trying to predict anything after that, because prediction wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to the forest now. The road dipped slightly, and the trees opened wider than before. Not like an exit, like exposure. I saw deeper into the structure beneath everything. The forest wasn't just surrounding the road. It was built from it, layered, interlocked, endless. And I understood something I couldn't ununderstand. This wasn't a place I entered. It was a system I was placed inside. The girl wasn't trapped here with me. She was part of the mechanism that made it work. A function, not a companion. And I was not lost. I was accounted for. Every loop, every reset, every correction. It had been expecting me, not trying to stop me, just ensuring I arrived correctly. I stopped fighting the car, not because I accepted it, because resistance stopped changing anything. The forest felt complete now, not empty, not alive, complete. The trees stood closer than before, all of them watching without needing to move. Every surface felt aware. Every reflection carried too many versions of me. And she wasn't one figure anymore. She multiplied, quietly, naturally, like she had always been many, and I just hadn't been allowed to see it. The car stopped responding entirely. Not broken, just settled, like it had fulfilled its purpose. I realized then that I wasn't inside the forest anymore. I was part of what it was observing. And the last thought I had wasn't mine alone. It was shared, across everything that was watching.